Captain, a vessel approaching.
On screen.
We're being hailed.
Every weekend over at gearwebsites.com, our online store, we have free Patch Friday. And that means that every order placed on our store on Fridays is going to include at least one free patch. So that's every order with no coupons, no minimum order, no codes needed. You place the order on Friday, and when it arrives to you, it's going to have at least one free patch. Your support means a lot to us, and financial support is critical. So thanks again to the people who keep us online through purchases at gearwebsites.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live whenever possible. So thanks to the, you know what? That reminds me to put a banner on the screen. Thanks to our Patreons. No, that's the sample banner. How about this one? Thanks to our Patreons who make it possible for us to go live as well as keep all the websites online. All right. Yep, you're the first one here. Aldo's first one chatting tonight. Thanks for that and welcome. And we are live because I value this interactive nature of the internet. So definitely be part of the show, comment, and help keep the show interactive. That's what it's all about. All right, so we go live on Fridays to wrap up the week. And what we're going to be doing is taking a look at some of the stuff. I don't really need to be on the screen here. Let's go over to this and make it the full screen like that. We'll be taking a look at my YouTube over here. I'll go to our history, stuff I've been watching this week, and we'll chat about that stuff as it comes up. I guess I can close the Discord. We have a Discord now, so Patreons and channel members know about that. We'll open this up, and we also have a poll going. So we have a couple of votes in the poll. If you're over on the Instagram or over on the X, there's a link in here in the comments to jump over to YouTube and open up the poll. Let's see. The question is your level of concern for 2A issues. So for what our Second Amendment protects in 2025. So this year, what's your level of concern? And I didn't want it to be just high, medium, and low because I think the spectrum is more, I don't know what shape that would be, but I think there's more going on than just if you're concerned or not. So the first one is extremely concerned. Answer that way if you feel your rights are under serious threat, that we're seeing aggressive pushes against the second and what it protects at the federal and state levels. Immediate action needed to defend freedoms. And there are a couple of states that I can understand that answer. So that's what extremely concerned is. Holding the line would be you're in a defensive posture, keeping an eye on the landscape and resisting new infringements, but you're not in any kind of panic mode. And, maybe those are the states that are aware of what's going on in those bad states. Maybe you have that opinion in a bad state, or maybe you're, a neighbor state or something. You feel like that rust might creep, right? So cautiously optimistic would be, you're thinking some progress is being made. You're seeing these executive orders and more. being done at the executive branch. You see the things happening in court or legislation. I don't know about legislation. I guess depends on where you're looking. There's a couple of things out there, but you're not letting your guard down. And I could see people choosing that one. And this is the one I wish everyone would choose, pushing forward, because it is time to go on the offensive, not just to defend, but to expand and shift public opinion towards individual freedom and liberty. That doesn't get talked about enough, and that is something we're able to do, and we are able to require that of our organizations and our, whatever you want to call people that influence or lead or make waves or talk, or have soapboxes, whatever you want to say. Like, we're allowed to do more than just be on or off switches, right? So anyway, that's what pushing forward is. Time to go on the freaking defense. Time to change the Overton window, to push that Overton window. Aldo is saying Minnesota too had some news, by the way. Interesting. Okay. I tried to cram a lot of the news into the description of the show today. So we'll take a look at that as well. I think we'll start the show off with that, in fact. So I could have brought this over here, I guess, since I'm showing my screen. Here is what I have to do, get a little bit larger maybe. Playing with my screen size over here in order to show the poll and stuff. Oh, maybe one more. Oh, you know what I have to do is this. For YouTube, I need to cram it over a little bit, and that'll make the poll show up on the screen. Just trying to get the poll to show up on this screen and not two screens over. Okay, I was not successful. Okay, there it is. But the poll is too wide. This isn't really production value because I'm doing stuff that really this isn't designed to do. I'm just making it work. All right, so now let's open up that poll again. There's the poll. If you want to vote in that, go for it. We got only a couple of votes so far. Extremely concerned, somebody, and then cautiously optimistic was another one. But again, you got the you heard what these answers signify. But let's go down a little bit below the comments on my screen, at least, if it will. I'm trying to scroll. Is it not willing to scroll? Okay, there we go. And we've got some national level news. Okay, now it's all over the place. Okay, now it finally caught up with you. We have some national level news, which isn't really national level. It's just in the wrong column. So I'll just go in whatever order it's on the screen here. I'm not saying robots wrote this. I'm just saying I might get some assistance from robots. That's all. So Colorado governor, heinous bullshit. Why do you blame the people of Colorado? I don't know. You can't blame the people of Colorado. This is a time when people could be influenced, become aware, and be rallied, right? Not necessarily a rally, but was there a rally? I don't know. I didn't hear one. I'm not in Colorado, though. There might have been a rally and I missed it. But there's a massive organization there, makes more money than almost any of the other organizations except the NRA. And that's in Colorado, and Colorado's getting the crap kicked out of them. So how does this add up? And why isn't nobody talking about it? Like, come on. We're seriously just going to sit here and act like Colorado did something to themselves? No. Messed up. Do these organizations owe it to Colorado to do something there? I don't know. Maybe. They're making millions of dollars, but there's an organization making more than them that just hangs out in Colorado and doesn't do much else, has got like one or two other feathers in their cap, and that's fucking it. So you're not going to get me to talk lightly about what's happening in Colorado. I happen to like Colorado a lot. Dragon Man is there. There's other cool stuff there. Red Dawn supposedly happened there, but it gets wailed on with this gun shit lately. So anyway, their governor, idiot governor, jerk-off governor, prohibited the sale and transfer of most semi-automatic rifles and shotguns with detachable magazines. Is your talking heads talking about that? Like, how come we're not doing something about this as a nation? Takes effect January 2026, as if that's sugar on the top or something. Like, Who cares? I mean, it sucks. It's better than it taking effect immediately, but a couple of months away, big whoop. We should still be doing more than talking about it as a nation. I believe. It also mandates background checks, training requirements, and then 8 induces age limits, and NSS and other people oppose that. Amazing. Stupid robots. Anyway, the next one is ATF zero tolerance policy was walked back through the executive branch. Hearing a lot of people exploiting that, right? Making videos about it and using that as clickbait. But I don't know. I guess it's up to you to decide if that's a big deal or not, in a positive way or not. Is that moving the Overton window? Is it given, what's the word? Is it giving us stuff to point to change that Overton window? I think there needs to be at least follow through. Let's see, the ATF's controversial zero. I'm not going to read all this. You probably know what's going on. We're really doing this for the history, not necessarily to report this to people. I'm assuming people watching this know what's going on. So if I'm telling you something that you didn't know, there is a little bit more info here. But then the next thing is the House Judiciary advances Firearms Preemption Protection Act. The Firearms Industry Non-Discrimination Act, Protecting the Right to Keep and Bear Arms Act, the FIND Act. Is that for real, or did the robot just make this up? These aim to protect lawful firearms businesses from being cut off by financial services and to reinforce Second Amendment protections against federal jurisdiction. If this is real, then this is basically firearms, what would you say, gun shops, I guess? Firearms sellers being targeted by credit card companies by giving them a separate slot in the credit card system of indexing or cataloging. And again, is that a big deal or not? Question mark. Are the little not big deals, do they add up? Or is this actually a big deal and people aren't paying attention to it? Should we be able to juggle more than one thing? Should we be able to deal with things that aren't a big deal? What if we just solved this? What if we eliminated this from being one of our issues and we could just not juggle this? But this one's been being juggled now for a number of years. I've seen some people exploit it, but it's like minimally exploited. I don't know if people are making a ton of money on it, but there's certainly some headlines being. This is used for headlines often, right? Let's see. I'm confused with what number 3 is all about. Again, I think it's just the credit card companies want to give another category to gun shops rather than like sporting goods. Some people see that as a way to monitor sales or something somehow, or at least a slippery slope maybe towards being able to. But whether or not we feel as an industry or community that credit card companies paying attention to us, is that a big deal or not? Again, I think that it's not that big a deal, but should also not be ignored, and it shouldn't be ignored, right? It shouldn't just be overlooked because we have other big deals. We should be a large enough community to be able to deal with this. Maybe if we had 2A bankers, they could go deal with this. We have 2A lawyers. We have 2A doctors, kind of. We have 2A researchers. How come we don't have 2A bankers? But they'd certainly make a shit ton of money off of us if there were. Let's see. What was number 4 New York Supreme Court or Federal Supreme Court? Yeah, see, I don't know. The robots put all this in federal. I don't know why they put it in federal. But the next one is number 4. Supreme Court declines review of New York concealed carry law. I don't know if this is real because I'm not paying that much attention to what's happening in New York. But I do know something happened up there. So it's possible that this is real. There's a disclaimer on here. Sometimes robots help us. And if they make up stuff, then that happens. Let's see. Gun rights groups. See, I would say gun owners' rights because guns don't have rights, but we do. Gun owners' rights groups expressed frustration and concern over inconsistent application of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the loser Bruin precedent. This leaves the lower court decisions in place and continues to restrict carry rights in New York. So, is that really what happened in New York? Somebody up there can let me know. But I would say that's a state level thing, not a federal level thing. other than the fact that maybe it happened at the Supreme Court level. That's probably why it's federal. Actually, that is probably why it's federal. Now, this one, I don't know. Ninth Circuit Court upholds California large capacity magazine ban. In a major 2A decision, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld California's ban on magazines over 10 rounds. This ruling is expected to be appealed again, potentially reaching the Supreme Court. Advocates for gun rights argue it contradicts the Supreme Court's standard set in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the loser, Bruin. So I thought that I'd seen something on San Diego gun owners that this got appealed already. So I don't know if this is current. Yeah, as you can see, I'm experimenting this week with having some assistance from non-human entities. Don't be a humanist and just get mad at them because they don't do everything perfectly just because they're non-humans. Let's see. So then we get into the state level stuff. Arizona, which a lot of people don't pay attention to because we had a massively good organization here for a long time. It's not the same organization anymore. Pro-gun legislation is moving forward in the Arizona legislature, including strengthening state preemption laws, limiting cities and counties from enacting their own gun restrictions. Okay, I don't know if we need that, but I guess we need it if they're doing it. Bills to limit enforcement of federal gun control laws seen as unconstitutional. I don't know. I thought we already had like a Montana suppressor law. So some proposals include repealing restrictions on certain NFA regulated items such as suppressors and short barrel rifles. That would be great. I don't know. Suppressors I can understand because you just build them in state with somebody who's not an FFL and no big deal because you can build a suppressor. Short barrel rifle, a little tougher to build the parts of a short barrel rifle in state. We do have the potential to do it though, but not through non-NFFLs because typically when somebody's building stuff, they become an FFL. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, somehow those are developments in Arizona. If those are real, somebody in Arizona can tell me if they're real. California, after the Duncan decision, California officials are pushing for further restrictions, including more waiting period expansions and new proposed taxes on guns and ammo sales. I haven't really been paying attention to California other than the listening on Sundays, and they've been talking more general stuff than what's going on in California. They've been talking about elections and things like that. Anyway, Washington State, new legislation being considered to restrict open carry in public spaces, or in more public spaces, it says, building on last year's laws against open carry at demonstrations and state capitals. And the state capitol? How many state capitals does Washington have, robots? But, okay. I'm not okay with that, but that's what it's saying happened in Washington. I think we got a couple more. Let's do Oregon, since Oregon is actually next. Oregon is actually right next to Washington. Washington is how they pronounce it. Measure 114, which includes the permit to purchase and magazine restrictions, remains on hold due to court injunctions. So that's good to know. That's from a few years ago. And then state continues efforts to reinstate it with a focus on implementing the permitting process. So that sucks. Again, Oregon is a great testing ground. It's a great place to push back on some of these unfair enforcement against law abiding with the misguided attempt to solve crime or whatever. Especially in Oregon, where people are open-minded, they understand how to inform and create awareness to each other. They're open to it. Again, they're capable. They're able to do it. It's not like it's a uncommon thing for people in Oregon to get up on a soapbox, literally stand around and listen to each other. It's like Vermont. Have you thought about that? Vermont and Oregon are kind of like each other. Anyway, so be cool to see a bunch of support happen to pour into Oregon. Let's see. Then we got that was it. So then it just talks about some of our gear. But now we'll go back over to the history. Nobody's really saying anything. Aldo's saying stuff. Thanks for that. But nobody else saying anything. Whole bunch of people watching since we're on Instagram. I guess I could go over on Instagram and look. A whole bunch of people watching over on Instagram. Of course, nobody says anything ever. I guess I could post a link over here if you want to take the poll or participate in the poll, I should say. And then we'll dig in. So that's the show that we're listening to right now. I guess the last thing I was listening to was this interview with Want to Talk America. Scott Thompson is a cop who then was an ATF. Was an ATF agent, and then now he's working for a place that makes a. Oh shit! What did I do? Then he's now working for a place that makes a gun lock that jams into the muzzle. Oh shit! That jams into the muzzle, and they talk about a bunch of stuff, and then towards the end they talk about AI a little bit. It was pretty interesting. I was listening to that just before the show started. Eventually we'll get back to my history here. I got it all like figured out, I think. If I don't click on anything anymore, that won't screw up anymore. Let's see. Some of the stuff is it's not in the order I've listened to it. It's in the order I went back and added it because some of the stuff I watched on the other computer. Let's see. Aldo saying they are just making it. Let's see. They're just making it way easier for criminals in the woke states. Expect more issues in them. There seems to be no learning taking place there with crimes and bans coinciding. I hear that, and it seems like we had, as the gun industry or community, whatever you want to say, because it was kind of a mix or a hybrid, for a long time we depended on the industry, and I would call the NRA at that time, the 90s and the 2000s, early 2000s, as a part of the industry, as an arm of the industry in a way. As like the media arm of the industry. So, they spent a lot of money on media, but was anybody else spending anything on media? Like, they changed the Overton window quite a bit by creating a perception of gun owners as whatever. You can disagree with it all you want. I'm not saying it was the best way to do things, but, they did things. So, So yeah, we don't have an organization or individuals. Because a lot of times an individual who's successful will grow or gather others around, and then it becomes an organization. At least that's the origin story of most of our gun owners' rights groups. So we don't have one that started up for changing awareness or creating awareness. We have them that create awareness for a thing or a subject, right? But not for guns in general. Other than Every Second Matters, but it never had any focus or, kind of ambition or anything. It was more of a let's see what happens type of a organization or loose organization. So I think that that's something we're lacking for sure, is the ability to have a memory in our culture or our community, and then to have ability to plan and be part of an overall bigger arching story. We repeat the same fucking thing over and over and over. Anybody in the gun industry who says, who uses the whole those who don't know history are forced to repeat it. We live that constantly. There's only a couple of people I know that are actually, most of them have quit because it gets so frustrating watching people grind themselves down with the same cycles. The people that stick around or have longevity enough to stick through the number of cycles, and the rest of the people are just here for a minute. They're hopping on a train for a ride, and they move on to their next hobby or their next thing. They're not scared anymore. They quit hunting, whatever. They changed friends or something. They changed businesses or jobs or something, so they don't have the time to go shooting anymore or whatever. So for most people, guns are a hobby, and we don't have a memory or any kind of history or awareness of our own history, and people exploit that. But not everybody, and we will change that, right? The robots will change that. The robots don't forget shit, and the robots are going to be able to go back and read everything that's ever happened, and somebody will say, hey, let's do some research and find out who's been effective and who hasn't been. And then once people understand that your actions have consequences and that we're not just fucking treading water out here, that, you know, most people are treading water. I shouldn't say that. You don't have to tread water. Some people decided to move in a direction, and once people have the hindsight of history or whatever that's called, they'll be able to see, and a few people in the future will hit the water and start swimming in a direction. Right or wrong, they'll swim in directions. We have a lot of people treading water right now. A lot of extra effort being done for no reason. Good question. Good point, though. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. That's what the whole show's about. And let's dig into the next one is Team House. I've been catching up on Team House. I missed a few, I guess. So, because they're not live anymore. It doesn't have the same, I don't watch it live, so I don't watch it. That's what happens. But it would happen like right now. I think it just ended. So this one's from a few weeks ago, and I wasn't going to watch it because I don't give a shit about the 101st. Sorry, I don't. I mean, I know people in it, I guess, but it's just not my thing. Not whatever. So I didn't know anybody growing up in it, I guess I should say. So it never got to be a big thing for me. I'd never known anybody while I was in it. I'd only known people after. So for me, it's not all that intimate. But I ended up listening to it, and it was pretty dang good. So, like a lot of the team houses, they've opened up my awareness of what's been going on out there and people's gigs or jobs. Speaking of that, this one was also very interesting. This guy was a captain of a nuclear sub. So there's nuclear subs, and then there's tactical subs, I guess, like the attack subs. This is the nuclear one, the big ones that sit around with a bunch of nukes in them. And he ended up being a captain of a nuclear sub, and then after that in the war colleges or something, and then after that to the point where he was in the nuclear thing programming the suitcase that the president carries around. So he's had all kinds of interesting jobs, and this one's a good one for learning about the nuclear situation, World War III type of shit. Pretty good. This is a drone channel I watch. Pretty interesting. This is the attorneys. They've started doing a live show. This one was pretty technically bad, but interesting to watch them doing a live show. Interesting that they're doing a live show now. I'm always bitching that nobody's doing anything other than to exploit shit. I mean, what are they exploiting now? Nothing. Like, they're just doing this now to get their exercise, to get accustomed to it. So when needed, they'll be able to do it. So this is the time to support people that are trying to get shit done. If that's your thing. They are lawyers, so I'm sure they don't need financial support, but I don't know how it is. I'm assuming lawyers are all rich. I don't know. But that was an interesting one. They did talk about quite a few topics during that one. I think it's about an hour. Oh, no, it's only half an hour. Let's see. Then we got this organization that gets 5,000 views and brings in more money than GOA and Second Amendment Foundation almost together. You stack GOA and SAF together, and this place makes more money than them. Just saying. On the years that they feel like it, on the other years you never hear about them. But the years that they can do it, they make more money than both of those put together. And here they are with a video that somebody pointed to. I won't bitch too much, but I'm going to bitch about this place. 5,000 views. Armed attorneys, 10,000 views, and this has been up for like a couple of hours. Came up earlier today. 1,000 views per hour, 162 views per hour. 2 lawyers in Texas who are affiliated with, what's it called? Oh, what is it called? Texas Carry turned into something Carry. What's the Carry one? But anyway, they turned into one of the Carry organizations, and then a YouTube channel, doing their thing. But essentially 2 people in Texas with some resources, but definitely not unlimited resources, I don't think. 10,000 views or 1,000 views per hour. A place making more money than GOA and SAF, 162 views per hour. So go ahead and tell me that Colorado is failing because of Coloradoans. It's bullshit. Townhouse had somebody on. Correct. I don't know how to say that. On would be interesting. That would be interesting to me. Same thing happened with guns that happened to him, in that he waterboarded people that wanted to absolutely demolish us and destroy the country or something. I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. So then I'll just move along to one dude who's an author and some kind of lawyer nerd and talks really loud. What this was? 162 views per hour, 951 views per hour, 36,000 views, 5,000 views. Probably working for a living. Like, I don't think this dude is just sitting there minding his business for a living. More money than GOA and NSSF Second Amendment Foundation put together when they feel like it. You don't even hear about it when they don't want to be around. When they need the money, more money than national, than the only thing bigger than them is NSSF and NRA. One dude, 5,000 views, 36,000 views. Wonder how much they're spending on advertising. I wonder how much they're spending on marketing. There's one guy. I wonder if he's probably spending something on it, on somebody editing his videos. I bet you he doesn't edit his videos. Has anybody asked Mark if he edits his own videos? Just wondering. Anyway, so he's talking about what is he talking about in this video? It's been a few days. I think he's talking about the guy being dismissed, right? At the ATF, I think, in that video. Although it's saying, and now people have forgotten that guns keep us free from tyranny and keep us free. Like you said earlier, how quickly we use something and then forget all about it. Same old cycle. Yeah, and that's, that was what Every Second Matters was about. We knew that, after 94, there was some consequences in 94, but then everybody kind of just dealt with it. And in 2004, nothing happened and there was no consequences. So we all kind of knew that, our tendency is to just be chill. Like, we're not violent. We're not reactive or whatever, reactionary. There's individuals who are whatever, but there's a group, like gun owners are pretty much just big fat people who sit around and don't want to be bothered. And for that reason, we don't go around bothering people. So we don't have any incentive, incentive, I guess, to push the Overton window. But a lot of that, I believe, is because we don't have examples of pushing the Overton window. We certainly don't have anybody encouraging us through participatory stuff or any of the crap that's used against us to buy crap or to give a shit about accessories that we must have, right? Like accessories that can get clogged with mud and make our shit heavier and bigger, clunkier, and cost as much as the thing. Like, think about all the marketing and incentive there is to make us buy those things. But where is it on getting rid of the gun laws in Oregon, however you say that, and Massachusetts, right? Like, why aren't we ganging up on the representatives in Massachusetts and the executive branch in Massachusetts that think they can do whatever they want? We got people that live there, our families that we have influence on. We have businesses. We buy things from from that state. All these ways that we have influence, and then we can travel there, right? People that travel through or don't travel through there or to there as a destination. If you're going to do conventions or conferences and stuff, like whether or not you're going to do stuff there. There's Boston, like that's pretty much a dependent. I would say they've got some economy based on tourism. So I would think that we've got options, and if we don't ever exercise those muscles, then we're doomed to never exercise those muscles. But I think we could. Although I was saying, gun owners are like the Swiss. Stay out of issues in the world politics and fight wars and such. The problem is when the war comes, it's too late, and we let the problem makers slowly take over the entire thing. Yeah, and it's like you say, it's not the first time. Unfortunately, I think there's people out there, the naysayers. I know people, I hang out with people who bitch all the time that there's just people that will lay into the back and forth because they exploit it. And it's hard to say they're wrong, but I don't think that's the intent. I just think that it happens that way. But yeah, it'll be nice to see somebody disrupt that shit. I really thought we would see that happen with some of the liberal gun owning organizations, but they have not done that. Let's see. So slowly take over the world, and now they have the resources to come after them. Us. Same darn thing. Nobody speaks up when we need to, at least some of us. Well, there's it doesn't need to be at the top of everybody's lungs. It just needs to be an awareness thing so that you don't get pushed around, ideally. You don't need to be constantly paranoid as long as you're aware, right? Like as long as you understand a threat, you don't have to be concerned, constantly worried about the threat. And that's what we're kind of dealing with here is people that get funded to push. I don't know if that's going to keep happening, right? Like we're seeing some of that get curtailed, but they'll figure out other ways. And the real reason here is we want them to leave us alone so we can do whatever we want. The big payoff is once we figure that out, once we got the key to that, we'll be able to apply that to other things and other communities and other parts of the country. We'll be able to use those tactics and that to I don't want to say push, well, at least to have influence on their positions, and we'd be better off. So I'm just not saying that there's an easy way to do it, but if we all put our minds to it, we'd figure out the ways to do it, and that's worth doing. So I think it's a result that we all want, but the getting to that result is an awesome effort that's worth the work. Let's see. Speaking of the work, Crump is over on Rumble all the time. This time, I don't know. Sometimes I click on it just to see if he's ever going to leave a link, and he finally did leave a link. So I think this is the first time I ever went over there because he left a link. But most of the time I click on these, they just say that he's on Rumble, and I don't know how to go find Rumble, so I don't bother. But I did go over and listen to this one, and for the life of me, I can't remember what he was talking about. He was talking about something interesting. I was like, dang, I wish he was still on YouTube. The good news is that Crump writes for AmmoLand, so what happens is he'll put it on AmmoLand as a blog or whatever, and then other video channels on YouTube will talk about what Crump said, so he's kind of like he's still on YouTube, just through other people, I guess. Here's the lawyers doing their thing again, like usual, a video. 115,000 views, 1,500 views per hour. Just a law firm in Texas, right? Doing some YouTube videos. 115,000 views on this one. That's a few days old. 1.5 thousand views per hour. Organization that brings in more money than the Second Amendment Foundation and GOA put together. You stack all their money put together, and this organization makes more when they feel like it. When they don't feel like it, you don't hear about them. 162 videos per hour. Go ask somebody how much they're spending on marketing. Ask somebody how much they spend on their marketing, and then ask somebody who owns their marketing company. Woods is out there. Welcome. You know what I'm doing? I'm putting up people's comments on the screen because they're commenting. So if you're on the X, you're allowed to comment, and then your video or your comment might go on the screen if it's good. And if you're on Instagram, well, you can't put your comment on the screen, but I could talk about your comment because I'm watching over there. Let's see. Then the Walk Talk America talked about, what is this? Building something better, veteran mental health. I'm going to have to go back and watch that one because I forgot when that happened, but it happened while I was doing something else. So it says Marine Corps veteran and founder of VMHA. So I'm going to have to listen to that one. This one's pretty good. I talk about Rob all the time, friend of mine from back in the olden days of the AK communities that don't exist anymore. Well, they don't exist anymore, I guess, technically. But some of us still chat with each other once in a while. And Rob has traveled the world doing whatever he wants with the military. It's up to him to talk about that. But he had unprecedented access to museums and the stuff that was not just like museums would open up the displays and let him take pictures of the display guns, but they would take him downstairs or in the back room or whatever and show him the stuff that wasn't even on display. And as an AK guy, he did that for pretty much only, well, he did other guns, but mostly AKs. That was his passion, and that's what he sought out. And he would find other guns along the way that he liked. Anyway, he's created the AK catalog, the AK-47 catalog. You can get that on Amazon. And he comes out with a new issue based on his photographs over the years. And this one is the video he's done. He hasn't done very many of these videos because normally he just takes pictures and puts them in the books. Great pictures, though, like amazing high quality museum quality pictures. But this is, how long is this video? Like 17-minute long video, and there's a big chunk where he shows the fight or the shootout scene from Heat. But this is a 733 Commando that he put together that's as accurate as you can get to the movie version, which is the one that he used in Africa back in the day. And he goes through for 17 minutes. Now, you might have heard about gun nerds before, but this is actual gun nerd stuff. So there's a lot of poser gun nerds. And when you watch Rob, you'll understand that everybody else is like a baby poser compared to a real gun nerd from back in the day. Let's see. Then we got Gizzard, a knife nerd. He's a more modern knife nerd, I guess. Talking about some cricket. Minimalist, Nesmuk. So Gizzard does knife reviews all the time. And once in a while, maybe he gives away knives. It's up to you to become a member if you want to go check that out. I really shouldn't talk about private membership things that are happening there. All right, well, I need to get something to drink here, so this is a good time to have a commercial.
Captain, a vessel approaching.
On screen.
We're being hailed.
Every weekend over at gearwebsites.com, our online store, we have free Patch Friday. And that means that every order placed on our store on Fridays is going to include at least one free patch. So that's every order with no coupons, no minimum order, no codes needed. You place the order on Friday, and when it arrives to you, it's going to have at least one free patch. Your support means a lot to us, and financial support is critical. So thanks again to the people who keep us online through purchases at gearwebsites.com.
All right. So Tuesdays, we're down to the Tuesday layer of the history over here. Is when Tony does the Gun and Gear review podcast with that group. Tony does, I don't know how many podcasts each week, 3 or 5, depending on how many he does in a week. But this is one that he does on the regular. And I usually listen to that while I'm listening to other stuff or getting stuff done. I don't know if anybody's listened to Rusted Root, but I guess I listened to that song right there. I think they were talking about that on Ghost Show is what happened. And I went to listen to some other song and then I listened to that one. I was waiting for Gizzards' show to start, probably, because that's when this Aegis Gun Care promo. I probably should have ran that instead of my commercial. Hibley's been doing a pretty good job. He's a stock market enthusiast. So he's been doing a decent job of talking about the stock market reactions to news and kind of showing that off and putting it into perspective. That's a valuable effort that he's putting out there. Sonny is ex-Spetsnaz guy who's been around for a long time. He's a Spetsnaz. He was basically the special operations of Russia back in the Cold War days. So he was a dude being trained to kill people over here while we were being trained to kill people over there. And after that all fell apart, he was, I don't know if he was the first, but he was one of the first in the early 2000s to, maybe mid 2000s, to bring Sistema, the Russian martial art, and an AK-47 version of Sistema over here. He made a DVD, and we sold that DVD on the websites for a number of years until I sold out of them. I forgot how many I bought. I sold maybe 20 of those DVDs, I think, and that was a pretty big deal back in the day. Not my first online sales, but some of my first online sales back in the day. First ways of venturing into online sales. And I just bought the CDs off of Sonny. So anyway, I've been watching Sonny since back in the day because I liked System. I thought it was pretty cool. So it's a kind of a Krav Maga, but a more Gymkata looking Krav Maga. It's like a very gymnastic-ish martial art. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's pretty cool. And him doing it with the AK or having an AK as part of it was pretty sweet. I don't know if he puts out is it Gospel of Violence or something like that? What was the name of the thing? Anyway, Sonny's been around for a long time. He's trained with a bunch of people. I think he's in Florida, and he's been doing these live chats. They're interesting to listen to, but they're definitely hardcore training folks. So if you're not into that, you ain't going to like it at all. This is 2A Cops. I didn't really watch this. I just noticed that it came up, and I probably opened it. Oh, let's just notice that this is one cop, one guy that was a cop in California for his career, and then him and another cop from California created this channel, and they've just been kind of creating commentary from the perspective of California law enforcement on some of the stuff that happened over the last 3 or 4 years. And 1.4 thousand views. That's just one cop. One cop. Ex-cop. Okay, 5,000 views. So they beat one cop with a gun. So I'll give them that, I guess. How many did Sonny have? Yeah, he only has 200. All right, well, so then we're not going to get into more views under here, unfortunately, because now we're going to talk about Professor Yamane. So this was a Q&A episode that he did for an hour with this author of We Refuse. And then I've got another piece down here someplace where he had an interview with her. And I think are these two separate things? Oh, maybe for some reason I was thinking those are two separate things. Maybe they're not. I thought one was a video presentation and one was a Q&A. I might be wrong on that, I guess. This was a video we did on the other channel of this tent thing when we were out camping. Tony was on what do they call it now? Gun Club Radio. This guy's changed the name of his show 3 times now. I think did I talk about this last week? I don't really like this pack or this first aid kit because it's not heavy duty enough for me. But the stuff that's in it is decent quality. It'd probably save your life. The stuff that's in it, the pouch itself is not good. But I took it all apart to make a video, and I thought, you know what? I'm not just going to just put this stuff back in here. I'm going to go ahead and put it in with some intent because it was packed by somebody who was just trying to make it fit in there, not by someone who ever used a first aid kit before or a trauma kit ever. So I put it in so that the garbage that you don't need very often was put first, and all the stuff you might need quickly was packed last. So it was like ready to grab. It was all the good stuff or the most important stuff was ready to get grabbed out of there. I'm not saying it's the most inclusive set ever or it's a great first aid kit. I'm just saying I took it apart to make a video and I decided to put it back together with a little bit of intent. So anyway, I'm not proud of it or nothing, but I think that's a interesting video. I'm curious to see if it gets any comments or not, if people are interested in that kind of that aspect of first aid kits, I guess I should say. She Fires has not been posting the same kind of content, but I got hiccups. But she has been posting on Sundays usually, not live. So we've lost another live channel, unfortunately. Oh, I'm missing a bunch of comments over here. Oh man, I missed a bunch. Okay, so Woods asked a question earlier. Will the tariffs make ammo prices rise? Thinking of how much ammo is imported? Probably not, but I don't know. Let's see. Turkish shotguns. Is there any tariffs against Turkey? Not enough. So hopefully we'll see some tariffs against Turkey, or at least the Turkish shotguns. and Turkish 9mm. There doesn't need to be a tariff on 9mm as much as an awareness in the community about how stinky it is as a caliber, so that just people quit. The Fed can just end. It doesn't need. It'll all just collapse. It's all just a bunch of hot air flapping around, really. Let's see. George Washington, somebody was a survival guru in the old days and lived with minimal kit quite well. He has many books. Oh, I think I might have looked that guy up. I don't know if you mentioned that one time. I think this was like a while ago. Episode 1600 or something, like a long time ago, when we had co-hosts hanging out, and I think we may have looked up this guy before, but I don't know, maybe Woods remembers that. I think we may have looked that guy up, or maybe it was something else I was watching that I looked it up, but I think, I don't know, maybe I watched a video interview with a knife maker and he mentioned this, because that might be the same guy, but interesting. His phrase "sokum" lives on to mean something cool in survival and bushcraft communities to this day. Oh, okay. One of man heroes and idols in history. Dang. The book where he saw his friends, then camped, and then found his friends, and then their kids starved to death makes modern life seem silly. No one starves to death now. The book where he saw his friends and then camped and then found his friends and their kids. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like he went out camping and then his friends had perished and their kids. Now I get what you're saying. Yikes. All right, then Aldo says Spetsnaz old timers were legit good. The older ones back in the Cold War era, very well trained. Today's aren't good, and many have perished in the thing going on over there. But those old timers, yeah, and Sonny, of course, was back in the day. I can remember back in the olden days. So we had a lot of video, not video. It was what I guess, what do they call that? Projector movies? I don't know what it was called. Where it would be on the reel to reel, like watching it was a reel to reel. Like I don't know what they call that when you put in the video or the movie film on one side, and then there's the other reel that sucks it up on the other side, and then when you're all done, you got to push it back to the first reel. Back in those days when there was, and then there might have been cartridges for that, but basically it was just a cartridge with a big movie reel in it. But that's when I went in. So back in, I think it was in basic and in process. It might have been before basic, like in processing, maybe in basic, but I think it was in processing when they're cutting your hair and they're giving you all this stuff and that kind of shit. It was in, like, every time we'd have to wait, they'd make us go into this one, I don't know what it was, like an auditorium place, and they'd show us these movies and stuff. And one of those, and those movies were familiarizing us with the battlefields, I guess, like of the day, like what helicopters could do and what tanks could do and shit like that. There was just general, it was like watching newsreels or something. They weren't very long, but they were almost like the sales pitches for the different equipment. Like, here's what a Grumman blah 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 can do, and they would show what a missile could do to a runway, or here's what a dam buster will do, and it'll beat the shit out of a dam, and then here's what another missile will do, and it beats the shit out of whatever it's supposed to do. And then in there somewhere we saw a bunch of Russian stuff, and I can still remember watching the Russian basic. Like, our basic was, everybody has seen our basic training. Everybody knows what our basic training is. Their basic is like jungle, I guess you could say like obstacle courses and gymnastics equipment. So they're constantly doing flips and tumbling and flipping around and jumping over shit. It looks kind of like parkour, I guess. So they're like doing all kinds of acrobatic shit. And we basically did jumping jacks. Like, we'd get up and down fast and all the time, but we didn't do it like jumping and leaping and fucking that kind of shit. We didn't balance on nothing hardly ever. Or maybe we balanced on a balance beam or with some kind of tires. But most of the time we were carrying something heavy or doing it so fast that we fall down and hurt ourselves or something. But they were doing a bunch of jumping around and doing stuff. So I always laughed at it until later on when I figured out that was actually a zillion times harder to do than what we were doing. Like we were getting strong, but they were getting, I don't know what to call that. So anyway, years later when I wasn't in the fight no more, watching Spetsnaz, I was like, oh shit, I'm glad we didn't have to fight them because they were pretty damn strong. And capable. Maybe that's a better word. So, I mean, we were strong, but they were like, they were different. They could, I would definitely not have wanted to fight them. Anyway, I think you read that, but yeah, I agree. They showed is super cool. Oh, their shovel is super cool. Heck yeah, it is. A lot of their tools are pretty cool, actually. They're crude. I wouldn't say they're all that great. I'd probably carry ours most of the time, but not their shovel. I'd rather have their shovel than our cheap ass folding shovel. Is stupid. Let's see. I actually bought a shovel not that dissimilar to a Spetsnaz shovel. That's an expensive ass shovel for camping, which is I could have just used a Spetsnaz shovel, except they don't sell them on Amazon. Aldo is saying folks who are very well worth sitting down and listening to when they speak. Gonna go listen to him tomorrow when I have time. Yeah, look at his whole spectrum too. Like nowadays, like I say, you got to be really into training to want to listen to him. I don't think he's just really focused on training, so it just can get pretty boring, I guess, to people who ain't really into it. And I know that because I get bored and I'm not in all that into it as I used to be. Let's see. Although saying I have two of them Spetsnaz shovels. Keep the one in the truck, one in my pack. Very useful. Definitely agree. And the Spetsnaz shovel is just like an old World War One shovel or something. It's a shovel that doesn't fold. Like they didn't have any weird fantasies that a shovel needs to fold. So their shovel is just a nice little strong shovel, very much like what you'd use in the yard. Definitely what you'd use when you go camping. And you can use it as like an axe a little bit, I guess. Definitely the cold steel ones are an axe, but you can use them as a shovel, but you can also kind of like pick with them and just, they're very, very useful. And they're super strong. Like they are not breaking. You can use them as stairs and stuff if you had like a log dam or something you had to go over. There's all kinds of neat things you can use it for. Let's see. Oh man, I'm way behind on comments because you're talking about the starving comment. I don't know what that is. Oh, some kind of metric calibers. Okay, I don't know what that is. Okay, we've talked about that guy before. Okay, so then projection films, is that the way to say it? The Russians flip and climb over walls. Air Force bids for planes to fly over walls. Navy dives under them, and Korean troopers just break through the walls. Yeah, exactly. Well, the Marines are going to try to break through the wall. They'll blow up the wall eventually. Russians copied the Germans on their shovels. Oh, I never thought about the German shovel. I know I had something in Raintree, and I don't know if I ever had the shovel. I might be not aware of German shovels and just assuming they're all Russian shovels if they're a ripoff of them. That could easily be because I do not pay attention to German shit at all, like German surplus. All right, going back to, we're almost done with the thing because we're already on Saturday night. Every Saturday night, like clockwork, the overnight mouse party happens. For the last 22 weeks, we've had the opportunity to get together as a community on Saturday nights and participate in an amazing situation called the Overnight Mouse Party, hosted by Foss. You can be part of it, or you can just live a life where you're not part of an overnight mouse party every single Saturday night, late night, overnight. So be part of that if you want to. I guess you could watch it after the fact, but that's sort of like eating pizza cold the next day. Some people like it. What was I doing? I guess I was watching a bunch of shorts. Let's see, this is probably the first one. Do you take a first aid kit to the range? I think that was Foss. And then Patriot. And then I got stuck watching a bunch of Mark Lamb ones, I guess. Is that his name? Mark Lamb? Mike Lamb? Mark Lamb? Anyway, Sheriff Lamb. I don't remember his first name. I think it's Mark. But anyway, he was on Blue to Green. The guy who does the Cops and Marijuana podcast. He had an interview with Sheriff Lamb, I don't know, is it a month ago already? And he doesn't do videos very often. Well, the podcast doesn't do videos very often, so after he does the videos, he'll post a bunch of shorts, I guess. I must have watched some of the shorts. There's that mouse party again. And before the mouse party is when Hillbilly does his show. And that's when you can watch that on Saturday nights. And then right before that is the only consistent effort to change the conversation and change the situation with firearms and suicide. So Mental Health Matters is Brooke Cheney's effort every Saturday to go live for 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that, just to get together and encourage folks to, I don't know, each week's a little bit different, but essentially be aware that we have the ability to normalize the conversation about mental health and suicide prevention. And since we know that the people who are afraid or unaware of guns use numbers and fear of violence against law-abiding gun owners, the way that will change, the way that has not been attempted very often or with much effort, is the awareness, the creation of awareness and understanding. So it'd be great if we could take everybody to the range, but that's not realistic and it's not necessary. What we can do is have conversations that are of interest to people on both sides of the line, both sides of the divide. And once there's something that can be consumed by people on the other side, there's a potential that they'll actually do that. And the people on our side, once we become more comfortable and able to have conversations about mental health, it becomes more comfortable and more incorporated into our normal conversations and therefore into our community and into our industry and the rest. So there are some organizations like Walk the Talk America and a couple others. Well, there's no other organizations. There's a couple of other efforts by big organizations, but mostly just talk, mostly very little actual effort. We have Walk the Talk America that definitely puts effort in to the directions that they see as important. But then we have Brooke Cheney, who actually puts in the time every single week to make this focus on change and the ability for us to have a conversation about mental health. We don't mind talking about a broken leg. If we poke our eye or something, we talk about how I poked myself with a stick in my eye or something happened and, take a week to get better. Broke my arm and, when I get fixed, it's going to be better or worse. My knees fell apart after my year's worth of running or whatever. I shot 9mm and my fingers fell off. We don't have problems talking about these things that happen to everybody every day because they're physical things, and we just don't have any social faux pas about that. But if we want to talk about, I'm not feeling good or I'm sad or I'm super happy, now you're talking about stuff that's less familiar and less comfortable. So Brooke changes that. She gives us opportunities to in different ways approach the idea of mental health and suicide prevention. And again, on a consistent basis. There's nobody else out there doing it. It's the most important thing we could be doing. Then you got Hillbilly again talking about the tariffs and everything. Then you got me and Tony doing the Ask Questions show. Thanks to Woods and others for bringing in questions to that show. Although I've seen people with PTS would like her channel. Yep, I agree. You can drop the D, FYI. Let's see. Germans and Swiss have the best shovels. Okay, we were talking about shovels before. Let's see. So that's the other side. I guess I must have just tapped on this, and then did he change the... It's got to be two different things because it's two different thumbnails. I thought there was... Like it happened earlier in the week. Maybe it was live, and then he turned it into a prepared podcast. But whatever, that's the same thing. Professor Yamane is having a conversation about the book as part of his virtual book club. Woods had a book club going with barbecue. Oh, shit. Dang it.
Welcome to Lighter with Professor David Yamane. This week,
so,
video.
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about... I don't know Woods knows what I'm talking about. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it or not. But there was a show back in the day that Woods was a part of, and they had a 2A book club. So hopefully, or maybe we'll see that again. I'm not sure. I don't know if I should say anything about that or not. Ooh. Oh, you know what? I'm yawning, so I'm going to play that Aegis commercial. I shouldn't have clicked on it. I should have just right-clicked on it. I'll learn eventually.
Non-flammable, but absolutely destroys cars.
When you watch stuff on double speed, what'll happen is it'll watch the next thing on double speed. So at some point, it'll come up here, and I'll flip it back to normal speed. One of the nice things about listening to something after the fact is that you can listen to it on double speed. You don't have to, spend an hour listening to something that takes an hour.
Carbon. Aegis lubricant is a synthetic lubricant. It's heavier than water. And then we have friction modifiers, rust inhibitors, and then we have a
basic level, our field kit, and everything you see right here on this cloth with our full bottle of cleaner and lube. This one is our deluxe kit, and it just comes with a few more gadgets. We have our grease as well, and it has the same great qualities as our lubricant does. If you want just a sample of all of our products, you can get our trifecta that has the cleaner, the lubricant, and the grease in it.
You can actually tune in to Gears of Gary's podcast. Gary gives away either a combo pack of a cleaner and a lube or one of our trifecta kits. So tune into Gary's podcast and you just might win some free stuff. Plus all the other patches and stickers and everything Gary gives away.
It's true. And Aegis is out there supporting lots of good organizations, folks, and people. So let me see if I can try to hit the back button. It's going to take a minute. My computer's obviously needs to have something done to it because it's taking too long to do stuff. Probably should have coffee sitting here if I'm going to be yawning. But we're almost done. So with that, I'm back to the weekly wrap-up last week. Oh, we did have a couple of other things. I'm going to go ahead and copyright this show. Here, I'm just going to let it play right there. Do you see what's happening right there? I'm going to go ahead and play it. So this I'm going to do it the right way. Open a new window. And then we'll open it up full. So go ahead and raise your hands out there. If you can click hold a video to do 2x also. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Why is my computer taking so long? I probably have viruses. This is what happens when you have a bunch of viruses on your computer. So raise your hand if you've seen this before. I just seen this the other day, but I think it's 2 years old. You're 2 years old or 2 months old, but come on. Seriously? Why don't you have a co-host? This is when the co-host banter happens. Blah, blah, blah. Back and forth banter. Blah, blah, blah. Banter. And then we're going to be taking a look at the Kawasaki Corleo. So it's the ergonomics of a motorcycle. You ride it like a motorcycle. It's because you got handlebars, but you're actually riding it like a horse because you're riding it like a horse. But it's a motorcycle seat, not a horse. And it's got 4 legs, like one of them robot dogs. So it's sort of like a robot horse, but it's a robot horse motorcycle. It's got heads-up displays that project. So that's a light, that's a laser that's projecting out of the front of it to show you where to go. And then that's taking your whole family out on them. And then I think there'll be 2 of them. See how happy that guy is because he's got a robot? You just wear onesies. You don't even have to wear clothes or nothing because you got a robot. You can just wear a big onesie. And then that's what it looks like as a robot. And then this other guy will walk up. So that means you can have multiple people walking around. Cordio. He doesn't know how to say it right. But that's from Kawasaki. That's coming. How much would you pay for that? Foss,
you just can't beat.
Foss is afraid to bring that up on his show.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
this orange is gross.
Because he's never brought it up on his show. But that's coming. And it's the robots of the future. AI and robot dogs are going to be large enough that you can ride them around. And I'm guessing that you want it to be on the back of it, right? You can have it come to you. So you could just be hanging out on a lazy boy or some robot lazy boy. And then this thing, when you feel like it, this thing will come over and you'll just kind of roll over onto it. And then it'll run around and do your bidding or whatever. Kind of like a, what were those things called that you roll around on? It's kind of like one of them, except it's a robot. All right, well, with that, that's the show. We'll go back to the poll, which is over here. We only have 6 votes on the poll after all of that. So we have, looks like 2, let's see, if this is 6, then this is 3 votes for cautiously optimistic, 2 votes for extremely concerned, and just 1 single vote for it's time to be pushing forward. So that was the polls tonight. If you're just figuring out that there's polls over here, the question is level of concern for 2A issues. And this breaks down to, if you choose extremely concerned, you believe rights are under serious threat and we're seeing aggressive pushes against Second Amendment at federal and state levels, that immediate action is needed to defend core freedoms. Now, if you choose holding the line, you're in a defensive posture, keeping an eye on the landscape and resisting new infringements, but not in full panic mode, which is honestly what I thought everyone was going to choose. But instead, most people have voted for cautiously optimistic. They believe some progress has been made in the courts or in legislation, but they're not letting their guard down. And then one person is what I hoped people would pick. He's pushing forward. It's time to go on to the offense, not just defend our rights, but expand them and shift the public opinion back towards individual freedom and liberty. So I'll leave it at that. We can sit around waiting for somebody to do this shit for us, or you get up off your ass and put in a little effort, just like tug of fucking war. The rope done fucking move by itself. No spectator makes that fucking rope move. A bunch of people putting their fucking hands on it make that shit move. Nobody has to do it themselves. Everybody fucking grabs on.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.